All right, hey, aloha everybody, and it's once again nice to be out and about. Today we're visiting with Chris from Black Project.
Hi there.
Awesome paddles. And hey Chris, we know like a lot of businesses the last 8 months, I want to say almost, so much has happened. We had the COVID, I haven't seen you in a while. A lot of races have been cancelled, yet the sporting industry has been overrun with orders, any kind of sporting industry. So let us know a little bit, how did you experience the last 8 months since March? What happened in your business and in athlete world?
It was very interesting, very different. And the first thing was shops particularly in Europe, didn't know if they were going to be open all year. So it just came at a time when we were starting to ship all the new product. So it was a few tense phone calls, a few tense weeks. But then I think the best thing about paddling is you can get outside. And that's what we've really seen, is that there's just been more and more people paddling all over the world. Mm-hmm. Here on Maui too, it's mainly people paddling in the surf. Less downwind for sure, with car sharing and so on not being ideal. But Europe's been going crazy. Everywhere it's just been trying to get product, and so it's been a good year in many ways for the sport, because I think there's a lot of people that have either come back to the sport or started the sport. So I think it's really, really healthy, particularly this year, people coming back to the sport. And I remember here, one of the things you were allowed to do during the original lockdown was actually go paddling. So there was more and more people I saw with race boards, old boards, everything, just going paddling. And that's got to be a good thing, but that's really now carried on, and it's just been a big growth in people participating in the sport. And while we haven't had races, it's just been a very different year, and I think it's actually probably the year we needed to grow participation in the sport, which then next year I think more people will be interested to go to events, and not necessarily big race events, but just interested in going to organised events where they can go and paddle with other people. Yeah,
we definitely have seen a big uptick in participation in the sport in the recreational side in Europe for sure, over in Germany where people read my magazine, guaranteed. Nobody has seen that coming, actually. I was taken by surprise with it. Also, another thing, you have pretty much all the name athletes, all the champions out there are on the Black Project paddle. You're in close contact with everybody. What's the sentiment that you get from your athletes when you talk to them?
I think that,
how do they feel?
A mixed bag. I think some people have had a really much deserved rest. It's been nice to see Zane and Connor back on Maui for a long period of time, and normally they're traveling the whole time. So I think everyone's had a bit of a good rest. I see some people have been training a lot, and other people have been doing other things. It's difficult for athletes not knowing what to do. I think next year is going to be very interesting to see. We'll know who has trained and who hasn't. And I think those first few races next year are going to be really interesting. And what I'm seeing is a lot of new people coming out of Europe, perhaps coming out of other sports. And I'm getting more and more people coming from places like Poland, etc.
I was just going to say, Eastern Europe seems to be very popular and very growing very much right now.
Big Olympic scene in all paddle sports, and government support in those areas. So that's kind of feeds through. And now paddling, I think it's got the attention of that. And I'm definitely seeing the Eastern European athletes coming through, and I think we're going to see some shocks when we come to things like the Carolina Cup next year, or certainly as we get through to the Euro Tour next year.
Prediction.
If we see some flat water races in particular, I don't think there's still going to be a long way for non-surfers to catch up the likes of Connor and a downwind race. But when it comes to flat water grinding, we saw how Michael Booth really came from another sport and really dominated. And I think we'll probably see 2 or 3, maybe 5 or 10 similar type of athletes, very, very muscular build, strong, and physical attributes that we've perhaps not seen in the sport.
And I think particularly because what we often forget is canoe paddling is a very, very strong in Europe, and the further east you go, actually the stronger canoe paddling becomes. And those guys are absolute machines. They're very well organized. They have money, as we've seen, for example, the ICF is having their World Championships in Hungary on the Balaton Lake there. And there is just, these people are very disciplined, and they have a lot of inflow in money money for training facilities with their sport. So yeah, guaranteed. And I'm not sure if you have read about it, but the French Surfing Association is pushing really hard for Paris 2024 to become Olympic. So we might even have a very much of an increased chance there too that we see 2024 happening.
Absolutely. And we already started, Cora and I started working on a few things. We've got the Olympics, in our minds and thinking, we have to start now. You can't turn around in 2022 or 2023 and say, right, we need to be ready for the Olympics. We don't know what disciplines there'll be, but we're certainly working towards that with a focus. Already. So that's interesting.
Speaking of working on things, you had this interesting looking paddle here. If you want to look at that real quick, explain us, Stephanie. The blade here has this hydro kind of like wing-like thing on it. That's one of your latest developments.
Yeah, this is something we've been developing for over a year. So actually, COVID came at a perfect time for us. It enabled us to, as you can see, it's very unique design. We didn't really want anyone seeing this, so we've been developing this in secret. So actually, not having people coming to Maui and us not traveling and me not posting on Instagram about it, it's been really good because we've been able to just work in quiet and develop this. Now, we've always, with paddles, focused on the blade face really. But really what we wanted to do, and we kind of started that with our old hydro, is we really wanted to actually flip down its head and really work towards how the paddle actually flows through the water in a three-dimensional way. So we worked on what we call AFT, Advanced Flow Technology, and the idea here is that there's a lot of turbulence around the paddle, and we wanted to get rid of that and minimize that completely so that there's a smoother, effortless stroke. And that's what we feel we've achieved with this here. It's completely different paddling experience. Yes, we've got the power with the deep scoop, but with deep scoop blades, there was a tendency for them not to be particularly stable through the water, and also jarring on shoulders. So we wanted to work on that. So we tamed that down. But this as well not only makes it much more efficient around the paddle, but really locks it in straight. So you put the paddle in, it's planted, it's straight, and it's following through. So it's really changed the way, personally, the way I've thought about paddles.
Very cool.
And the idea is that we're trying to get more speed for one, but our main focus often is trying to protect people's body and conserve energy. So this is what this is aimed to do. If you're reducing the movement in a paddle, if you're making it more efficient, you're saving energy and you're not hurting your shoulders. So this is what we're finding with this. Personally, I've enjoyed flat water paddling more than I ever have done this last period, and just spending a lot of time training and just really enjoying it and not feeling any pain in the shoulders because of actually, this is taking care of that for us.
Very cool. Well, that was Chris here from Black Project. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Lots of interesting stuff. Olympics, paddle orders, new blades. So awesome to see all that effort and everything that goes into it. Super cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. 8 minutes.